All right, so are you ready to like jump into the future of media?
Always ready.
Because we've got a whole bunch of like articles and reports and studies all about what media is going to look like in 2025 and beyond. And like, honestly, I think it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
Yeah. And it's not just for like media pros or whatever.
Yeah.
This is like if you read the news, if you like watch videos online, this is going to change how you get all that stuff.
Totally.
I mean, we're talking about like AI taking over newsrooms, the decline of social media,
Yeah.
and
To zero-click web.
the zero-click web,
Which I know.
which sounds kind of creepy.
It does sound a little ominous, doesn't it?
It does, but by the end of this deep dive, we're going to like break it all down.
Yeah,
So you can at least understand it and maybe even like get ahead of the curve.
exactly.
Okay, so let's start with the big one. Everyone's talking about AI.
Sure.
It's like AI is everywhere now, but
Yeah.
especially in media.
Yeah, it really seems like it's taking over newsrooms.
Right, and I've seen
Well, examples of that.
taking over might be a little strong,
Okay.
but it's definitely playing a much bigger role than it used to.
Okay.
We're seeing AI write short articles,
Mm-hmm.
especially for things like sports updates or like really basic breaking news.
Mm-hmm.
USA Today is already doing that.
So is this like a robot reporter coming for everyone's jobs?
Not necessarily. I mean, think of it more like AI handling the quick factual stuff,
Okay.
which actually frees up human journalists
Oh,
to focus on like more in-depth reporting and storytelling.
so they have more time for like the
Exactly.
really interesting stuff.
Yeah, more investigations,
Okay.
more creative pieces,
Got it.
less time churning out those really basic reports.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about this whole like trend of sharing to attract Gen Z?
Yes.
Because I've seen a bunch of outlets doing this. Like, the New York Times is letting subscribers share articles
Right.
with people who don't even have subscriptions,
Yeah.
which I thought was interesting.
It is, and it's a strategy a lot of outlets are using.
Okay. The idea is to make content easily shareable, especially since Gen Z, they live on social media.
Yeah, they do.
The New York Times, Leisure's, I mean, they're all doing this.
So it's like a built-in recommendation system coming from someone you know.
Exactly. That's the idea.
Do you think it actually works, though?
I think.
Like, do you
It depends.
see something your friend shared and you're like, oh, I got to read that now?
I think that's a great question for anyone listening,
Yeah.
Do you find yourself more drawn to content when a friend shares it?
Right.
I mean, it's definitely a way for media companies to reach new audiences
Yeah.
and create a sense of community.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. All right. Let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Okay.
Social media traffic is dropping,
Yes, it is.
which has got to be a big deal
It is a very big deal.
for these outlets.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, algorithm changes, especially on platforms like Meta and TikTok, mean that fewer people are seeing links to articles in their feeds.
So less organic reach.
Much less organic reach.
Okay. So like in plain English, that means less free advertising for news articles on social media.
Yeah, basically.
So what are media companies doing about that?
Well, they're realizing that they need to adapt. They need to become more than just news sources. They need to become destinations.
Oh.
They're creating these unique experiences to draw people directly to their websites.
Like what kind of experiences are we talking about?
We're seeing a lot more audio articles, which is great
Oh,
for
yeah.
people on the go.
Wow.
There's more immersive storytelling with interactive elements,
Ooh.
really get you involved.
Cool.
Even things like video content specifically designed for mobile users.
Oh, okay.
And of course, the good old newsletter is
Yeah.
making a comeback,
Like-
building dedicated communities around specific topics.
So it's like stepping up their game to give you a reason to actually go to their website and spend time there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They need to offer something you can't get just from scrolling through your social media feed. Okay, I get it. Now, have you heard of this term, the zero-click web?
Yes, I have.
Because that one sounds a little ominous to me.
It does.
Sounds like a little scary.
Yeah, like the internet's becoming less about clicking around and exploring.
In a way, it is.
Okay.
We're seeing the rise of these incredibly powerful AI search tools
Right.
like ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
Perplexity Gemini.
Yeah.
They're changing how we find information. Instead of clicking on links, people are getting answers directly within these platforms.
So I can ask ChatGPT a question
Right,
and it just tells me the answer
pretty much.
without me having to go to any websites.
Yeah, it pulls information from tons of different sources and presents it to you in a really clear, concise way.
Wow. That's convenient, but also a little scary for media companies, right?
It's a challenge.
Yeah. Less traffic to their websites.
Yeah, but like with the decline of social media traffic, it's forcing them to think outside the box.
So what are they doing?
Well, we're seeing a move towards more personalized content. Like what the Financial Times is doing with my FT, where readers can customize their news feeds to see what matters most to them.
So give people what they want, tailored to their interests.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another adaptation is what we call service-oriented content.
Okay.
Outlets like Politico and Bloomberg are doing this really well, providing in-depth analysis and information tailored to specific professional audiences.
So they're becoming more like valuable resources than just news providers.
More than just news. They're giving you the information you need to do your job.
So it's all about offering something unique and meeting specific needs.
Exactly.
Just like we were talking about with those destination experiences.
Right.
It seems like they're really having to like level up to stay relevant.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, so we've talked about AI, social media, the zero-click web.
Yeah.
And it seems like the common thread here is that media companies are having to get really creative to keep people engaged.
To do.
But there's one more trend we haven't touched on yet. And that's the rise of partnerships in the media industry.
Yes.
Like teaming up to share resources or reach new audiences.
Exactly.
I've seen a few examples of this, like Canal Plus partnered with Apple Music to offer a bundled subscription.
Right, which is appealing to a lot of consumers.
Yeah, for sure.
And we saw the New York Times collaborate with Le Monde to offer discounted access to both publications.
Oh, that's smart.
It is.
Like combined forces make things more affordable.
Right, and expose people to a wider range of content.
What else are they doing with these partnerships, though?
Well, it's not just about subscriptions. They can also share resources like journalists or production facilities.
Oh, wow.
And pool their expertise.
So it's like working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
And realizing that sometimes teaming up is better than going it alone.
It's all about being adaptable and responsive in this constantly changing media landscape.
Yeah, for sure. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
But we're not done yet.
No, we're not.
Because now it's time to dive into the world of data and how it's shaping everything we've been talking about.
All right, let's do it.
And I have a feeling this is going to be a really crucial piece of the puzzle.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so buckle up, everyone, because things are about to get interesting.
Data is never boring. Welcome back.
Okay, so we've covered AI, social media, the zero-click web.
Yeah.
And it seems like media companies are really having to like rethink their whole game plan here.
They are.
But now...
And it all comes down to data.
Data.
Yes, first-party data.
Oh, confession time. I hear data, and my eyes kind of glaze over.
I get it.
Can you like break this down for me like I'm 5?
Absolutely. So think of first-party data as like the information that media companies collect directly from their audience.
Yeah.
Like what articles you're clicking on, how long you're staying on a page if you sign up for their newsletter, even what you might have bought from them if they have like a store or something.
So it's data they gather themselves, not from like some other company?
Exactly. And this is becoming even more valuable now that those third-party cookies are going away.
Good riddance.
Yeah, a lot of people feel that way.
But how do they actually use this first-party data?
That's where things get really interesting. They're using these platforms called composable CDPs.
Composable CDP?
CDP stands for Customer Data Platform.
Oh, okay. You officially lost me.
Okay, imagine a CDP like a set of Legos.
Legos. Yeah.
Instead of one giant block of software, you have individual modules that you can snap together based on what you need.
Yep.
You might have one for collecting data, one for analyzing it, one for personalizing content. It's totally customizable.
So it's like a data toolbox.
Exactly.
That they can build to fit their needs.
Exactly.
Okay. But how does this benefit me, the average person just trying to like read the news or watch a video?
Well, think about it. Have you ever visited a website and felt like it was like speaking directly to you? Or got an email newsletter with articles that you actually wanted to read?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
That's probably powered by first-party data.
Really?
It allows them to create experiences that are more relevant and engaging.
Okay, and I do like that.
Right.
Even if it's a little creepy sometimes.
It can be.
Yeah.
And from a business perspective, it can lead to better ad targeting.
So you're seeing ads that are actually relevant to you.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not just about bombarding us with ads.
No.
It's about making the experience better for everyone.
It's about using data to improve things for everyone.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned data analysis earlier.
Yes.
What's real-time data analysis?
Okay, so imagine a media company's website as like a bustling city.
Okay.
Every click, every page view, every interaction is like a data point flowing through the streets.
I like this analogy.
Real-time data analysis is like having this control center where they can monitor all that activity as it happens.
So they have like a live feed of what people are doing on their site?
Exactly. And in the past, past, making sense of all that data could take days or even weeks. But now with tools like Amazon Kinesis, Azure Stream Analytics, Google Cloud Dataflow, they're like super fast data highways.
Okay.
They can analyze this information instantly.
So they can react in real time.
They can, and they do.
Wow.
Maybe an article is suddenly getting a ton of traffic so they can promote it even further.
Oh, that's smart.
Or maybe an ad campaign isn't performing well so they can tweak it.
Okay.
They can even tailor content recommendations based on what people are reading at that very moment.
So it's like they're anticipating what people want before they even know they want it.
Exactly. It's all about being responsive and creating a dynamic experience. Think about Spotify and how it suggests songs based on what you're listening to. That's real-time data analysis in action.
That's a really good example.
Okay.
So this is starting to make a lot more sense. Data is being used to personalize content, create better experiences, and even help companies adapt to like what users are doing
Yes.
on the fly.
On the fly.
It's kind of mind-blowing.
It is, but with all this data flowing around, we can't ignore the importance of data governance.
Right. Data governance.
Yeah.
That's the part where we talk about ethics and responsibility.
Exactly. It's about setting guidelines and procedures to ensure that data is handled responsibly and ethically.
So it's about protecting people's privacy,
Yes.
securing sensitive information,
Absolutely.
preventing data breaches.
All of that.
So it's like a set of rules to make sure my personal information isn't being misused.
Precisely, data governance is about building trust with the audience.
Okay.
If people don't feel like their information is being handled responsibly, they're less likely to engage with a media company's content.
Which at the end of the day is bad for business.
Yes.
So data governance isn't just about being nice.
Right.
It's also about being smart.
It's about creating a sustainable and responsible foundation for the future of media.
Okay, now earlier you mentioned the Trump bump.
Yes.
How does that phenomenon, along with these changing patterns of news consumption, tie into like this whole data conversation?
That's a great question. So we know there's this predicted Trump bump 2.0 coming.
Right.
This potential surge in digital subscriptions following the 2024 U.S. elections.
We saw this back in 2016.
Exactly.
That sudden spike in interest in news
Right.
during a major political event?
Exactly. But here's the thing. Even with those temporary bumps in engagement, there's a bigger trend happening.
Oh,
We're seeing a decline in trust in traditional news sources.
interesting.
And people are turning to alternative formats like podcasts and video.
Which is kind of ironic considering we're a podcast talking about this right now.
It is a little bit, but it reflects the fact that people are getting their news from a wider range of sources than ever before.
Sure.
And first-party data can actually help media companies understand these shifts.
Oh, okay.
They can see what kind of content is resonating, what formats people are engaging with, and even how trust in their brand is evolving.
So it's not just about personalizing content.
Right.
It's about getting this bigger picture view of how people are consuming news and information.
Exactly. And this understanding can help media companies adapt their strategies, build stronger relationships with their audience, and ultimately create a more sustainable and resilient media landscape.
So data is the key to unlocking a whole new level of understanding and engagement.
I think so.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It is. But before we get too carried away,
Right.
we need to circle back to that data governance piece.
Right, because all this data, all this power comes with great responsibility.
It does. And that's what we'll delve into in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we've talked about AI, the decline of social media, the rise of the zero-click web, and how data is like the backbone of it all.
Right. And it's only going to get more important.
But now it's time to talk about the thing that, like, no one wants to talk about.
The boring stuff.
The boring stuff, data governance.
Well, it doesn't have to be boring.
Okay, you're right. It's important.
It's super important.
But it's not exactly like the most thrilling topic.
But it is the foundation for everything we've been talking about.
Okay, so remind me one more time. What is data governance?
It's basically a set of rules and procedures that determine how data is collected, stored, used, and protected.
So like a code of conduct for data?
Exactly.
Okay, so why should I care?
Because it's about making sure companies are using your information responsibly.
Okay, so no more like hiding those super long privacy policies in the fine print.
Hopefully not transparency is key.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice?
So for starters, media companies need to be upfront with their audience about what data they're collecting and how they're using it.
Got it.
They also need to give people control over their data,
Okay.
like the ability to access it, correct it, and even delete it if they want to.
It is my data after all.
Exactly.
I should have a say.
You should, and of course, they need to have strong security measures in place to protect that data from breaches and misuse.
So like firewalls, encryption, all that stuff to keep the hackers out.
Exactly. Data governance is really about building trust
Yeah.
with the audience.
Right, because if I don't trust a company with my data,
Right.
I'm not going to give it to them.
Exactly. And you're less likely to engage with their content.
Which, as we've discussed, is bad for business.
It is. So data governance is not just about being ethical. It's also about being smart.
Okay, so we've talked about why data governance is important for media companies.
Yeah.
But you said it's something we should all be thinking about.
It is. Think about your own data, how you're managing it, what information you're sharing online.
Oh, okay.
We all have a role to play in shaping how data is used.
So it's not just about trusting companies to do the right thing.
Right.
It's about like being informed and making our own choices.
Exactly. Read those privacy policies, even if they're boring. Ask questions, support companies that are transparent about their data practices.
So be an active participant, not just a passive consumer.
I like that.
Me too. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think that's a really important takeaway.
Yeah,
The media landscape is changing rapidly,
it is.
but we have the power to influence how those changes unfold.
We do. We can demand transparency, hold companies accountable, and advocate for a more ethical and responsible use of data.
We can choose to support media outlets that align with our values.
Yes.
And prioritize trust and privacy.
And ultimately, we can help shape the kind of media landscape we want to see in the future.
A media landscape that is innovative and engaging, but also built on a foundation of ethical data practices.
Exactly.
That's a future worth striving for. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of media.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you learned something new, maybe gained some valuable insights,
I hope so.
and maybe even feel a little bit more empowered to navigate this crazy media landscape.
Definitely. And remember, the future of media isn't set in stone.
Right.
It's being shaped right now by the choices we make.
As consumers, creators, and citizens.
Exactly.
So let's make those choices wisely. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
I love it.
Stay ahead, stay informed, stay relevant.